Reeves.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say, just because I do this professionally, thank you. It doesn't mean that I don't have something to learn. I learn from everybody in Toastmasters all the time. It doesn't matter if we're professional, if we've done training in other contexts, it just doesn't matter because we're always learning. So, you know, I thought that was an awesome exercise, asking everybody what they've trained, and some people kind of seem to, you know, well, I've done some or I haven't done any. Don't worry about it. We're all learning. We're all starting at different stages, so it doesn't matter. I really appreciated Javier's speech in that he did experiential learning in every piece of it. He not only demonstrated, but we also got to experience and do it. So with the plane, he demonstrated, but we got to do it with the plane. So great, great goal. But you can start my timing now. Sorry.
Right now?
Yes, yes, that was my little intro. All right, goal setting. So recently in my organization, I work for National Oil Well Varco, and I'm the manager of corporate learning there. I was asked by our HR shared systems group to come in and do this thing called OD Corner. I work in the organizational development group, which means we come and supply them with different training that they want. This is a really general presentation that I'm doing for them. It's a group of 80 people. There's 20 people, 30 people live and 50 people online that just joined the team. It will be a little bit challenging. But one thing that their VP asked me to do was goal setting. And I love this. I love that this when different managers from the organization, they think that they can just order training. So they say, oh, Rhonda, I want a goal setting session. There's not a whole lot that you can help people learn in a quick 30-minute session on goal setting. Plus, I don't think it's a valuable place to focus. I think more valuable, the piece that we always leave off is achievement. We set goals, we know all the processes and different mnemonics that we've learned, but we rarely talk about how we actually achieve them. So I'm going to share today just some simple processes, guidelines, and strategies for actually achieving your goals. I'm going to have to look at the screen at times. So it's important to, if you're going to set goals and you're going to accomplish them, those are important personal or organizational skills. First, it's very important to set what are the important goals. What are the real relevant goals that you really want to do? And secondly, to identify strategies to help you achieve them. That will work for you because some may not work for you, right? So you have to make them personal about what works. Goals. So let me ask you, Yvette, why do we set goals? Why should we?
To go to the next level in our life.
Great. Anybody else?
To accomplish something, you just be sitting at home doing nothing. You didn't have goals, and you didn't get you out of the chair.
Kim, that's great.
To have an identifiable and measurable target.
Awesome. All those are awesome answers, and we're in Toastmasters. We're very familiar with setting goals, right? Goals provide us with some direction. We know where to start at least. There was an ancient Chinese philosopher by the name of Lao Tzu, and he says, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Goals provide us that direction of where we're going. Gets us started, right? The next thing is they motivate behavior change. When you see, if you're tracking your goals and you see that you're getting closer and closer to your goal, you'll be willing to change your behavior if there are still some things that are blocking you from achieving your goals. So it's a great way to change our behavior. And also to sustain momentum. As we get closer and closer to the finish line, we can actually release dopamine, a brain chemical that's going to elevate our mood and excite us and actually make it a little bit addictive to achieve our goals. And we go, woohoo, I'm a DTM, right? We know how that is. You achieve that, you just keep going. They also generate feedback. When you're tracking your goals and your progress toward them, you get immediate feedback that, oh, I am not hitting the mark, right? I wanted to be farther along at this point, or, these are the things that I need to do to go forward. And finally, they build character. This can be personally or on a team. So think, organizationally. If you've ever worked on a Toastmasters conference, you build character, right? Because you're working with a team, you've got your goal, what you're supposed to do, but there are lots of things that happen that don't go well. And that builds character. It helps you figure out how you're going to respond in those situations. So we have all of these things. We have goals, great. We all understand why it's important to set goals and what they can offer us. But the thing is, they only provide the compass, right? They set the direction. We still have a whole lot of paddling to go to actually reach land. And that's the part that we often leave out when we talk about goal setting, when we just focus on setting goals. We leave out this part, which is all of the work, all the actions that you actually have to put into place. So that's also the second piece where you want to focus. There is an author by the name of James Clear, and he wrote the book Atomic Habits. And he writes prolifically in blogs and books about goal setting and achievement. And he talks about, blacked out for a second, achieving our goals. What was the point? I don't know. But he wrote prolifically about this topic. Oh, I know, he uses the analogy of rudders and oars in terms of goals and achievement. So the rudder on a boat sets our direction. And then actually paddling with the oars are all of the actions that you take to achieve them. And the point is, if you don't have that intentional goal, that original goal that you set in place, and you're just rowing with no intention, you might end up going in a circle. So both pieces are very important. Setting the direction, the rudder, right? And then also rowing with intention toward that direction until you reach land. Both very important. Now, because it is a new year, it's coming close, right? 'Tis the season for setting new goals and resolutions. The problem is we often create a laundry list of exhaustive goals. And because we set so many expectations and we don't really define them clearly, we're not likely to reach many or any of them. Only 8% of New Year's resolutions are actually achieved, which means 92% are not, right? And a lot of that has to deal with how clearly we define our goals, how compelling we make them. So we have to reduce the motion. Part of what James Clear, one of his points about rowing in the direction was a lot of times we might do a lot of paddling and we've got all this motion going on, but we're not getting anywhere. We're not making any progress. We do this in businesses all the time where we say, everybody work on this, and everybody has all this activity going on, but you're not actually moving things forward. And so it's the difference between reducing the motion and focusing on your progress. And that's where we need to make sure that our goals are always focused there. So there's 7 simple steps that you can follow to defining clear goals, compelling goals. Yvette, can you help me with these and read these for us? What's step 1?
Think about results you want.
Great.
Create smarter goals. Write your goals down. Create an action plan. Plan a timeline. Take action. Review and adjust.
These are the 7 steps. We'll explore these one by one. The first is think about the results you really want. Instead of the exhaustive list, think what is really important. What do I really want to see at the end of this, either from me, my team, my organization, and also does it align to the other goals that we have in place? Does this align to all the other goals that I, Tammy, have in place for myself? If it doesn't, get it off your list, right? One thing that might help you is an importance and urgency matrix, and that shows this. Something that is important and urgent, you want to focus on doing. Something that is not urgent, but it's still important, you want to plan, because this might be a long-term goal. I'll stay out of your way if you're going to take a picture. And then something that's not important, but it's urgent, it still has to get done, you need to delegate that wherever you can. And then for the awful red box of not important, not urgent, eliminate it. Get rid of it. Yay, process of elimination. You've just shortened your list, right? So that's an awesome place to discover. The second step is create smarter goals. What does the S stand for? Specific. Good. So specific. People will set the intention of, I want to lose weight this year. That's not very specific. Instead of saying, I want to lose 25 pounds by July 4th, right? It gives us a specific number. What's the M stand for? Good. So it's the number, it's the percentage, the dollar amount, the ROI, just the number in general. It's the amount, so we know where specifically we're shooting, inches, pounds, whatever it is. And what's the A stand for?
Achievable.
Achievable, yes. A lot of times there's different words for this, but yes, in this one I'm going to use attainable, same thing. It's actually achievable, it's realistic, right? And what about the R?
Realistic.
No. See, yes, I mean, people will
Relevant.
interpret these two different ways, but attainable and realistic are the same thing.
Relevant.
There you go. Very important. It has to be important to me. If it's not important to me, if it doesn't matter, if it's not going to have any impact on me or others, don't do it, right? It's not a worthy goal. And then T, time bound, right? In the Experiential Leadership Communication Summit this year, I went to Eddie Merla's session and I learned about smarter goals, which I really liked. So that, because this is something that I naturally do anyway, and so I like that it's part of it. Plus it gives a refresh to the SMART. So the E is for evaluate. Now because these are all adjectives, it's goals that are evaluated, right? And the R is rewarded. These are pieces that I have in action plans that I create for myself. Go ahead and give yourself that ring you want, that bracelet you want, that shopping trip, that golf trip, whatever it is, dinner with your wife, whatever it is. Make sure that you plan a reward for yourself. And so when you're creating this goal, schedule it. On this day, when I achieve this, I will go out and buy myself a new ... whatever it is, or whatever makes you happy. So those are smarter goals. Thank you, Eddie Merla. The next step is write your goals down. This is physically writing your goals down, even if it looks like this messy journal, which could easily be mine, but it's not. And why do we have to write goals down? Why do they write them down?
To remind you if you've kind of lost track.
Can't you do that if you type them? Because that's what I'm talking about specifically.
Writing connects the brain to the habit. It actually goes into your deeper memory. If you just type it, you're just making actions.
Correct. That's awesome. That's right. It's connected to neuroscience. That's right. It's called the generative effect. When we actually put time and energy and then create a physical something from whatever we do, we generate deeper memory about it, and we're actually 1.5 times more likely to actually do it. So please write them down, make them creative. Also, another piece of that is making them visible. Now that you have a physical product, make it visible to yourself so that you constantly have a cue in order to remind you. Step 4 then is create an action plan. This is an actual personal development plan that I use, and this is just the action plan piece of it. There's other components. And in there you can see we have the reward. I also ask people to redefine what the achievement is once they've worked on that goal. What's it working toward? What's their actual achievement so they can feel good about that? And I also ask them to plan any obstacles that they think that they might find, like my time, right? That's a big one. That's always on their list of my time. So what are going to be your solutions? Well, if you schedule things ahead of time, your time may not get in the way. And I'm sorry, but time is an excuse, and I never buy it. We focus on what we think is important, right? We all have the same amount of time. Sometimes we put too much in it, right? That's our fault, because we like to do all these things, right? But in the end, whatever falls away is the stuff that's probably not as important, or maybe maybe there are things that you think, well, that's not as important, but it's urgent, and I feel a responsibility to do it to someone else. So that responsibility is what drives you, and that's the important part. You always have to think about not only selecting time. Don't default to time as your reason for not doing anything. And if you are going to, great, but plan a solution of how you're going to get around it. These are other action plans. So you might create like something for your team that's quarterly, where you have all of the tasks laid out and who's going to do it and what you want to accomplish by quarter. So it doesn't have to be just week by week or day by day or task by task. And then this is another one where you can use a Gantt chart online. Again, they say if you write it out, so this might be for an organization, but for you personally, write it out physically, your action plan, so that you can actually see it, check things off, use all kinds of colors, whatever you have to do to actually make it, make it generating, that generative effect. And then part of your timeline, part of your action plan is going to include a timeline. You can make this look however you want to. You can be creative with this, so you can see where you're going. It's so fun to see where you're supposed to be in a certain period of time, and then check those off as you go. And has anyone ever been ziplining? Yeah, we got a few. Yeah? What'd you think? You liked it?
Yeah, I like the drama.
Did you like it when you were standing at the top before you jumped?
Yeah, I was gonna be like this.
You did?
It's like,
You didn't have to jump off anything?
No.
Okay. Did you have to jump?
Yes, and one of them.
And one of them? You're a brave person, or you seem like a brave person. Was it a big experience for you, or no?
Yeah, there's a sense of nervousness.
Mm-hmm. Steve, what about you?
I'm a fool, I just jumped.
Good for you, Kim.
I didn't care for it. I found it unexhilarating and boring. It wasn't
You
peak.
found it boring.
It wasn't peak enough for me. I found it
Awesome.
very.
Okay. Well, I did it too, and you know, there could be such a myriad of different experiences with it, right? Different responses to it. I felt complete fear and terror on the parapet, getting ready to jump. You know you're all hooked up, and so I know it was just irrational, it was simply emotional, but I felt the fear. But once I did, it was fun, it was thrilling, it's freeing, and I thought, action cures fear. So you just have to jump, right? Action cures fear. Step 7, the final step of the 7 steps of goal setting process are review and adjust, right? Goals are organic. They're going to change because you might find now all of a sudden I do have less time, so I have to plan differently, or I have fewer resources available, or whatever it is. You have to always review and adjust so that they can be attainable. You don't ever want to say, well then I can't do it, so just forget it. Eating one good meal a day is better than not eating any good meals a day, right? It's okay if you take small steps. So you've got some great goals from this process. Now what? Next part is you have to achieve them, right? So what kind of strategies might work to help you achieve them? You got to identify some. One strategy might be to change a habit. You can Google online for different habits that kind of help people. I looked at the 21 habits of highly successful people. I'm not going to read all these, but some to highlight would be they read every day. They listen actively, like Javier was talking about. They don't sweat the small stuff. They make decisions based on logic and not emotion. These are just some things that you could do. You could Google these and find some for people that you admire as well. Strategy 2 is habit stacking. I like this one. This one also came from James Clear. So this is about a habit that you already have in your everyday life. It's something that you already do every single day. Stack a new habit that you're trying to form on top of it. Right? You brush your teeth every day, add flossing to that. Well, here's a couple examples. If you want to meditate, after I brew my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. 1 minute, that's all. Just focus on the 1 minute. Before I take my morning shower, I will do 10 push-ups. You don't say 30 because that might not be achievable. It might not be sustainable, right? So make it something you actually want to do. Flossing, after I set my toothbrush down, I will floss my teeth. Before I eat dinner, I will say one thing I'm grateful for. And if it's networking, after I return from lunch break, I will send one email to someone that I want to meet. This is easy to do for speeches too, right? Or if you're VPE, I could certainly start trying to do these habits better. I did schedule Mondays to follow up. All right, so strategy 3 is create an upper bound. There's something, it's some kind of magic that happens in our brain. When we set a higher limit too, because usually we only set a lower limit. We say, I want to do at least 3 push-ups, but we forget to set a higher limit. I want to do at least 3 push-ups, but no more than 5. All of a sudden it makes it, okay, I can do that. I can achieve those 3 because I know I'm not doing more than 5. There's something about it that happens in our brains that makes it much more achievable. So I want to lose at least 5 pounds this month, but no more than 10. And then there's other examples too. So that's something that you can do for yourself. Does anyone have a goal that they're working on, a personal goal that they're working on? Yeah, Mayabu.
Yeah, aspiring to set up my own enterprise, and I have a personal goal that within 2 years I'll hire at least 15 employees under me.
So what's one thing that you can do to help you reach your goal? What's one task that you can do every day? A new habit that you want to maybe change?
Make more networking calls, one habit.
Great, that's awesome, thank you. So that's something that you could do. Do you have morning tea or coffee?
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, I've got a strategy just perfect for you that's coming up. And so we'll talk about that. So the next strategy might be align your environment. If you say you want to lose 25 pounds by July 4th, but your refrigerator is stocked full of candy and chocolate, forget it. You ain't doing it, right? You got to align your environment so that it fits with what you said you want to achieve. The next thing, and this is for you, Mayboo, is the paperclip strategy. So there was a salesperson who started out with 120 paper clips in one jar and none, an empty jar, right? And every day he wanted to do the same thing, increase his sales calls. So every day he would take one paper clip when he made the sales call and move it to the empty jar. And then he'd make another call, move another paper clip to the empty jar. And his goal was to get all of the paper clips from the 120 jar to the empty jar. And every day he would move it. He ended up bringing in $5 million for a company and ended up getting quickly promoted all within an 18-month time frame, just by using this strategy to help him stick to it. So it's something that you could do easily with whatever you're trying to achieve. It doesn't have to just be sales calls. This one is my favorite because I love Seinfeld. It's called the Seinfeld strategy in quotes because he has said, I never said this, but they still kept it on here because it's alliteration. He's a famous person, and so they still use it. But the thing is, there was a young comedian by the name of Brad Isaac who, there's a story, I guess it's urban legend now, where he was working with Seinfeld at one of his gigs, and he asked him, because he was just starting out, and he asked him, what's some advice that you could give to a young comedian? And he said, if you want to be a better comedian, the thing you have to do is write better jokes, which I've watched a lot of Seinfeld on his Comedians in Cars Drinking Coffee. That does sound like something he would say, some advice that he would give. And so he said to help you make sure that you have the habit of writing jokes every day, get yourself a big wall calendar. And every day that you write, make a red X on it. And then the next day, make a red X when you write. And every day. And pretty soon you'll see that you have a chain going. And all you have to do is focus on not breaking the chain. And that's the big piece of advice that Brad Isaac supposedly walked away with. And that's the piece that Seinfeld said, I never said don't break the chain. Like, it just didn't sound right. So, whoops. But regardless, it is a strategy that works. When you have some kind of visible cue and you have something that is checked off, it does motivate you to achieve your goal and stick to a strategy. So there's goal setting and achievement. A couple guidelines for you to follow in terms of the goal setting process with the 7-step process that you could use, and also some strategies that might work for you. If you go online, you can also look up James Clear and just Google even goal setting and achievement to come up with different strategies that might work for you. So it's very important that you think about what goals are important to me and then identifying strategies that will work for you. Here's a summary kind of that list that was created. And I can send this out to people if anybody wants to get it. So just remember, it's the decisions you make and also the actions you take to help you accomplish your goal. And with that, I thank you. And be my Handshaking Toastmasters.